KFAN.
Why don't you give me half the money you were going to bet, and we'll go out there, I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
Stupid, you're smart. I was wrong, you were right. If you're the best, I'm the worst.
Fire away.
Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
It's a covenant cleanup.
Shall we begin?
Alrighty, welcome. Before we start regularly scheduled 9 to noon programming, we offer our condolences to State of Hockey reporter and podcaster Jessie Pierce, who, along with her 3 young children, died over the weekend in a White Bear Lake house fire. I mean, just an awful, awful story, obviously for them and their family members, but for anybody to read, whether you knew her or not. The family is survived by her husband, Mike. Now, I barely knew Jessie, said hi to her a million times at Wild Games or practices, and once joined her podcast, Bar Down Beauties. Our friend Michael Russo wrote just the most heartfelt tweet after hearing the news, and we'd like to share that in a couple of seconds. But first, Andrew Brunette, coach of the Nashville Predators, said this about Jessie in a post-game press conference after the Predators played yesterday. Quote, Bruno, I just want to pass on my condolences for Jessie Pierce. I've known her a long time, and she's a wonderful person. Loved hockey, loved people, somebody I look forward to seeing all the time when I would go to Minnesota. So it's a sad day in hockey. Her passion for the game, her passion for the Wild is unsurpassed, and we're going to miss her. It's a tragedy. End quote, Andrew Brunette. From Michael Russo at Russo Hockey. There are no words to express how heartbroken we all are. Jessie Pierce Heinrichs was the most vibrant person, the life of the party, always with a smile on her face, always bringing a passion to every article and podcast and interview she did. Jessie simply loved covering the Wild and hockey throughout Minnesota and had a way of brightening everyone's day with her upbeat, bubbly personality. I have literally never met anybody that had a way of being everybody's friend. More than anything, she absolutely loved Hudson, Caden, and Avery, and was the greatest mother who did everything she could to bring joy to her sweetest kids. Even at Friday's practice, in her beloved Iowa State sweatshirt, she was so excited to take them to the seasonal opening of Cup and Cone in White Bear Lake. Seeing those precious pictures yesterday, she provided them with another incredibly fun and loving day. My heart breaks for Mike, the loss of his wife and children, and Jessie's family, friends, and colleagues for this unimaginable loss. This hockey community lost a wonderful, energetic, and one-of-a-kind voice and storyteller and grade A person. Life can be unbearably unfair sometimes, and it's impossible to make sense of this tragedy. Please keep Jessie and her beautiful kids in your thoughts and prayers. I wish Mike all the peace and support and happiness in the world. A lot of tears were shed at the arena yesterday. We, in the Wild media and inside the Wild, will miss seeing Jessie every day, laughing with her every day. The press box and press room won't be the same without her. It'll be a lot quieter, a lot less funny. But her passion and joy for covering this hockey team and sport will remain. Russo finishes, sorry for the length of this, but as Jessie knew better than most, as my original athletic, quote, backup, end quote. And somebody who always gave me Minnesota Hockey Journal deadline extensions, as she used to joke, I'm incapable of writing tight, especially about her. R.I.P. Jesse, Hudson, Caden, and Avery. And may God rest the soul of Jessie Pierce and her children. All right, let's wrap. Welcome to 9 to Noon. Let's roll with it now. Brett Blakemore produces today. And we commence with the Northern Fire Weekend Wrap presented by NorthernFireBBQ.com.
Gaardsy to inbound. Get it into Amaya back.
You can go ahead and stop right there. I'll give you the cue. We'll be good. Gaardsy the Vox joins around 9:35 to talk about this.
Graholski to inbound. Get it into Amaya battle. 15-foot baseline. Jumper is good! Out the buzzer for the Sweet 16!
Gaardsy the Vox joins around 9:35 to talk about that exciting game yesterday. Just one of many spine tinglers this weekend. Amaya battle with the game winner and this tall player all up in her mix. And she daggered the Rebs. Final 5 minutes was intense. Mara Braun nailing a massive three-pointer after dribbling around to get space, then pulling up and swishing the bad boy home. And it had the Williams Arena crowd all wide-eyed. The ladies are Sweet 16 bound for the first time in 2 decades. Covenant claps for that. Sweet 16 bound for the first time in a couple of decades since like 2005. And they get the winner of tonight's Okie State-UCLA game. Now, they're going to get UCLA, which is 32-1 and has won 26 consecutive. Gaardsy, the radio Vox for the Lady Gophers next segment, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, about 9:45 or so, Coach Freddie Hoiberg, Nebraska Cornhuskers, he joins to talk about this.
AKO Cherokee with nobody from Nebraska in front of him, ready to inbound. Into Tanner from three-quarter court. The heave, the prayer, he almost banked it in!
Oh my!
Off the window, off the front of the rim, and it popped out. No good. And we have Husker madness in Oklahoma City.
The Huskers play the Hawkeyes Thursday in the Sweet 16, assuming heart rates dip to an acceptable level after those wins for those Big Ten teams. Iowa beat Florida at the buzzer last night. 1 seed dead. And Hoiberg Saturday night was standing right next to a Vandy player named Tyler Tanner, who chucked up a half-court shot at the buzzer to beat him. And that sucker rattled in and out, in and out, in and out. Heartbreak. And I'm still surprised that bad boy didn't fall and ruin dreams. Holy cow. Fred had to bark at one of his players immediately after the game. And it was funny because the coach was so wound up after that intense moment. And old school, best school radio with Coach Hoiberg commences after Gaardsy the Vox joins 9 to noon. That'll take place about 9:45. You'll dig it, and we promise. Northern Fire Barbecue Weekend Wrap, NorthernFireBBQ.com is in the air. Hopefully, you were all digging that Wolves win last night.
Wolves want to take their time. They're going to bleed that clock. Ayo on the attack now down the lane. Up off glass. Count it for 2. Ayo Dosunmu now with 17 points. Wolves by 14 with 1:55 left. Here's Jaylen Brown on the attack. The spin move on Ayo. Up strong off the glass. No. Jaden rips down the rebound. Wolves have it. Hit ahead to Randall. He'll attack the rim. Here comes the boom. Boston. Julius Randle slams it through for 2, and the Wolves lead by 16 with 1:45 to play. The streak ended in Toronto 6 weeks ago, a 20-game losing streak. The Wolves are going to end an 18-game losing streak here in Boston tonight.
Here comes the boom in Boston, says Alan Horton. 10-point dogs at the Garden Sands Ant and against Tatum, Brown, and Derek White. Finchy squad ran away from the Seas like they were tied to a post. And Bones Highland, Ayo Dosunmu, and Naz Reid just went out there and stole the show. One of the, if not the coolest wins of the season for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Way to go, Hal. Way to go, Finchy on the road beating the Seas. All right, 10 to play. Houston is here Wednesday, and that's a team the Wolves might get in the first round of the playoffs. Minnesota currently is tied with Denver for the 5 spot, and right there with the Rockets for the 4 and home court in the first round. Lakers avoidance round 1 may be the key here because Luka is looking like the league's MVP. LeBron is accepting of the 3 role in that MB3 with Austin Reeves, and those guys have won 9 in a row. Well done, T-Wolves. Finchy. The Minnesota Wild have won 1 in a row. It's 1 in a row for Foligno. 1 in a row for Foligno. And Saturday at Grand Casino Arena, that was intense.
Bobby Brink rolls it rink wide, and Quinn Hughes gallops to it, peels back, and then spiked it ahead. Beautiful pass. Brink it alone. Backhanded shot. He scores!
Oh, what a goal.
Hughes sending Brink, and he's tied this game at 1.
Boy, he took that perfect pass, and Hughes also a long pass. He got behind the defense. He goes in by himself, and what a beautiful goal.
Indeed, Tom Reed, what a beautiful goal. Excellent call by our next guest.
There's over 2 minutes left in overtime. Again, the faithful here standing. Hughes bolts through center ice, over the offensive blue line, cuts through the high slot, try to play it to Brink. It was tipped. Brink gathers. He's got a man open. Tarasenko shooting. He scores!
Hey!
Vladimir Tarasenko wins it in overtime!
That's the weekend wrap, courtesy of Northern Fire and NorthernFireBBQ.com. Excellent work by Brett Blakemore there. And likewise for Wild Radio Vox, Joe O'Donnell, who joins us now. 5 points behind Dallas with 11 to play, and Vegas did you guys a solid last night, beating the Stars in regulation. So still a puncher's chance to catch the Stars and get home ice, but what a meat grinder that Saturday OT win was. And good morning, Radio Joe.
Thanks, PA. Always a pleasure, my friend.
What do you think about the final 11 here, brother? Trying to run down those Stars, puncher's chance or what?
Yeah, I think based on last night, to your point, giving the Stars a point, but getting the win Saturday, you kind of gain a little bit of ground, right? But, I don't know how big home ice is, to be honest. I know that John Hines is, he's told me that they want every advantage possible, and home ice would be certainly an advantage, for having the last change and a potential 7th game at home and all those things that, all you guys know. But I'm not too focused on that. We kind of talked about this a little bit last week, you and I, just the health, the way the goaltending's playing, and just having the team kind of ramped up in the right direction heading into the postseason. Those are things that me, personally, that I'll be focused on.
Amen with that. And when they meet round 1, I'm glad you brought it up that way. Who gets more help and why? The Stars were down Saturday, Rupe Hintz and Mikko Rantanen. The Wild without Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, and Marcus Foligno. Assumedly, all of those players will be ready when they meet in the playoffs. So who do you think gets more help and why?
That's a great question. I don't hate being on the fence on this program, but I kind of think it's a wash, to be honest. I mean, we know how valuable Eriksson Ek is. You could argue one of the best two-way forwards in the NHL. We know what Kaprizov brings to the table. We know what Moose provide. Same thing for Dallas, though, with, Rantanen and Hintz, 2 of their better offensive players. Hintz seems to rise up in the big moments. We saw what Rantanen did last year in the playoffs against his former team in Colorado. And they're also without Radek Faksa, who's a name that, maybe more of the hardcore fans would know, kind of a fourth-liner, penalty killer, been around the block. So Dallas would, potentially get him back at some point as well. Both teams, I can tell you this much, if things hold serve right now, both teams heading into a possible Game 1 matchup are going to have 3 to 4 players out of their lineup that most teams, especially those not in the playoffs, would die to have in their roster. Like real NHLers with hundreds of games of experience, with playoff experience, and the rosters are just so deep for both Minnesota and Dallas that they're going to have guys, in the press box waiting for their opportunity. Again, that's if everybody's healthy. Both these teams are so deep, so evenly matched. Again, we've been staring at this possible matchup for a few months now, knowing this is how it could shake out. Now we're 10, 11 games from it really becoming into fruition.
Gus, how about the goalie Saturday? Gus had to bail. He had to bail them out on some 4-minute kills. I mean, how big was Gus Bus on Saturday?
Yeah, he was great. And to my point earlier, like that's what you want to see if you're a Wild fan. Like if that's the Philip Gustafson you're going to get in a playoff series, you got to like your chances against anybody, and I mean anybody. And that's a really encouraging thing. I mean, post Olympics. The Rangers game was a little bit of a hiccup. But other than that, he has been phenomenal post-Olympics. And that's coming off an Olympics for Team Sweden where, essentially lost a starting job by the time the medal round rolled around. So, definitely the Philip Gustafson you want to see. Reading plays well. John Hines after the game said, he admitted they would like to have maybe had some better reads on the PK, specifically against what Dallas likes to do. Dallas so much talent on the power play. They were whipping it around. Wyatt Johnston just set their franchise record for power play goals in a single season, breaking Dino Ciccarelli from the mid-'80s with the Minnesota North Stars. So that just happened yesterday in their loss to Vegas. So Jason Robertson can fill it up. And again, that was their power play without Hintz and Rantanen. And yet the Wild PK was really good. Shorthanded there for 6 minutes in the third period, the double minor to Brink and the penalty before that to Brodin. Gustafson was huge. And, I just really like the way the penalty kill overall has developed for the Wild with the trade deadline acquisitions, winning more draws, getting more shots blocked. Feels like they've got a deeper rotation than they've ever had in at least my time here. And the penalty kill's trending in the right direction. I think the goal the Stars scored late in the first period, PA, was just the third power play goal the Wild have allowed in the month of March.
And this is Joe O'Donnell, Radio Vox, calling Wild Games on FM 100.3 KFAN, at Wild Radio Joe via X, at Wild Radio Joe via X for the Morningscape Minute, etc. And I'm glad you mentioned that first goal by Dallas, because it's Zuki goes to grinding in the defensive end, and he gets 4 minutes, and then they win the faceoff and Robertson scores. So if you've watched these games against Dallas over the years and you've called them all, I mean, there was a little bit of great. I mean, all they do is score on the power play against us. They were 4 of 4 after Robertson's goal. They won that faceoff. You got Zuki in a spot grinding where maybe he wouldn't be if players were healthy. And that's what really impressed me with Saturday, despite the omissions of the high-end players, is it seemed like Dallas was able to suck the Wild into the type of game they want to play, and Minnesota still won.
Yep. It's a great sign. I really thought going into the game, PA, that the Wild were going to play well. We knew the last 5 games prior to Saturday, just one win, some good moments, some not so good moments, but you just wonder, what was the motivation level? Let's be honest. You're pretty much in a playoff spot. You pretty much know you're playing Dallas. If not, you're playing Colorado. That much is guaranteed. And, you're taking on the Rangers, the Maple Leafs, the Flyers, and no offense to those teams, but they don't have the draw, the anticipation of a game like playing Dallas or a week prior when Utah came to town and they had beaten you a few times in a row, and you knew a veteran Wild team would be ready for that game. I'm not making excuses for these guys, but it's 82 games. You're not always going to be at your best. And even though they weren't their best, they played some close games in that stretch. Just coming to town, with Dallas coming to town, I just had a feeling, the veteran guys on the team would be ready to go. Even if you're without Kaprizov and Eriksson, I just knew deep down that they would come out and give it a good show, and they certainly did that. And a rally from a deficit to win that hockey game in thrilling fashion. You get contributions from new guys like Brink, Hughes back on the score sheet after being held off for the last 3 games, which is, anomaly in his time with Minnesota. That Tarasenko get his 20th goal of the season. What a off-season acquisition that's turning out to be as he's getting better and better down the stretch. I just think there's a lot of positives right now for the Wild. the fans should be truly excited about that. This could be, again, a year where they hope to get out of that first round, which has been such a struggle, and really give this thing a good run.
Radio Joe.
Wild.
How would you describe how the Stars want to play? I mean, it seems to be this schematically sound, methodical style aimed at sucking the vibe out of road arenas.
They're really good. You know, I think they could play on Mars and give you a heck of a game. Like, their home and road splits are incredible. They're kind of under the radar this year because of just how good Colorado has been really since the jump. But the numbers that Dallas is putting up and some of their, shots against per game and goals against per game, it's all really, really, just strong. The one area where I've been surprised is they don't get a lot of shots on goal. They're bottom third in the league in shots per game. So maybe that's it. They're just not a high shot volume team for whatever reason. But in talking to John Hines over the weekend, they've got a new coach in Glenn Gulletson who spent time in Dallas many years ago, but most recently he was with Edmonton as an assistant. We know the Oilers have had great success. So when Dallas fired Pete DeBoer and hired Glenn Gulletson this summer, some might have been surprised, right? Dallas coming off another 50-win season, but they just didn't get out of that conference final again, losing to Edmonton. Gulletson runs a different system, right? They're a little bit more of like a zone team in their defensive zone. They're not man on man. They front a lot of shots. They try to push on possession, as John Hines says. So if there's a loose puck or a 50-50 puck that they come up with, they're flying the zone. So they're doing some things differently than they did under Pete DeBoer. And you got to remember, until Saturday, these two teams hadn't played since December, right before the Wild got Quinn Hughes. So it had been a while. I think it was good to see them firsthand from a pre-scout perspective, from the Wild players' perspective. Okay, now we know how they play. It's been a while. We've kind of refreshed ourselves. There is one more meeting between the two teams coming up. I don't know that either team will show a lot of cards in that game. By that point, April the 9th, maybe everything's already salted away. You know where you're starting. You're playing them. So that might be a weird late regular season game that would normally have big implications. So still a little bit to be decided here, but I think it was good for the Wild and Stars, probably from both their perspectives, to see each other firsthand, to kind of get a feel for how they want to play. And then we'll see where this thing kind of settles over the next couple of weeks.
Man, you laid that out beautifully. Just a couple to close here for Joe O'Donnell at Wild Radio, Joe via X. Bobby Brink. Was that the best game for Minnetonka's Bobby Brink, wearing the colors? He scored to make it 1-1, and, man, he was all over the place making plays.
Yeah, I mean, John Hines has used the word tenacious with him a lot, and that's how I describe his game. He's got the skill, he's got the skating, but he's got the will. And for a guy that's, let's be honest, my size, it's pretty incredible. There's not a lot of guys at his size doing what he's doing across the NHL. I mean, really, there's, less than one per team, if I had to just guess.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool after the game the other night where I asked him about Jared Spurgeon, being honored for 1,000 games. And I said, you haven't been a teammate of Spurgeon long, but you played against him. Like, what do you make of it? Totally forgetting that Bobby Brink's so young. He grew up watching Jared Spurgeon, and that's the first thing he kind of said. Was like, we used to watch. I watched him all the time because I was making a comparison. Like, you're both kind of undersized. Here's this guy playing 1,000 games. What do you know about him? And of course, being from Minnetonka, he's like, I watched him growing up. And, probably makes Spurgeon feel old when he hears stuff like that. But I thought it was a cool perspective. And, Jared Spurgeon has influenced and inspired probably a generation of hockey fans in some ways because of his size and because of the way he goes about his business. That probably much like his leadership style and his kind of quiet demeanor off the ice, is under the radar.
Amen, my brother.
He obviously made an impact on Bobby Brink, and it's great to see Bobby playing well in a Wild sweater, and with that tenacity to his game, it's been a nice addition. All
right, man. A couple to close here. Joe has to catch a plane. The teams at Tampa Bay, Florida, and Boston this week. Not back home for a week and change, like a week and a half, and a game against Vancouver. What are you expecting this roadie against those three tough squads? The Lightning, the Champs, and the Bruins.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Three excellent hockey teams. I know the Panthers are going to probably miss the playoffs here this year because of the litany of injuries they endured, but don't get it twisted. They are the two-time defending champs for a reason. You're going to be in their building, so that's a tough one. Tampa tomorrow will be interesting. They're coming off a 4-game road trip. They just played yesterday in Calgary. My guess is they travel back today. So that'll be, we'll see what kind of legs they have. But Tampa, after the Wild worked them pretty good in St. Paul in early March, they found their game again. And then Boston has one of the better home records in the league. Certainly been a surprise story this year. They're, battling out for a wild card playoff spot or a spot in the Eastern Conference. So 3 really good measuring stick games. Hopefully Marcus Foligno comes back at some point. Hopefully get Kaprizov as well. Eric Sinek, we'll see. But it should be a good test for the Wild. Really looking forward to these games.
All right, Joe. Last one here. Without Kaprizov and Eric Sinek, in what ways do they play differently when those guys are down? Do you notice any change of play style or not really?
I mean, ideally, you don't want that. You want to play the same way no matter who's in the lineup. But it's just a bit, for me, it's about opportunity, right? The lines are going to look a little different. You're going to have maybe a Bobby Brink slotted a little higher than you would. Maybe it's a little bit more ice time. Some of those double shifts to go to Kaprizov, go to Boldy. Maybe Marcus Johansson's employed in a different role. We've seen this Hartman, Zuccarello, Tarasenko line have some success since they were put together on the last homestand. So I just think when guys are out of the lineup, it's obviously tough, right? You're missing some big pieces, but it gives other guys opportunity. I think at the same time, it lets the coaches see, who else might work with a different combination of players alongside them. And that could be good in the long term, right? Like if you lose Eric Sinek or Kaprizov in a playoff game or miss a playoff game, okay, at least we know 3 weeks ago we were without those guys. And we saw it last year. The Wild got, unfortunately, far too comfortable playing without those 2-star players. And just means other guys got to step up, and also gives you an idea of maybe where other guys can slot should you need to change things up during a game.
Man, continue to call good ones. Really, really enjoy listening to you on the radio/audio. And safe travels, my brother. And we'll probably catch up sometime next week, all right?
Yeah, thanks a lot, PA.
See ya. That's Joe O'Donnell, the radio voice for the Minnesota Wild. Calls games at FM 100.3 KFAN, including, I believe, tomorrow against the Tampa Bay Lightning. 3-game roadie. We get the Wild back a week from Thursday against the Couve.
Thank you, St. Paul.
And thank you, TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes Gaardsy the Vox around the corner, followed by Nebraska Cornhuskers coach Fred Hoiberg about 9:45. Mick Tockett at 10 o'clock. And young Parker Fox around 11 on the world of the NCAA tournament and the Minnesota Timberwolves and the NBA. This is a Double B production. Brett Blakemore filling in for Nordo, and I'm Paul Allen. You're listening to 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN.
The Fan.
Gracholski to inbound. Get it into Amaya Battle. 15-foot baseline. Jumper is good! At the buzzer for the Sweet 16!
Fox.
The voice of Justin Guard, radio play-by-play for the Gophers women's basketball team, which is Sweet 16 bound for the first time in a couple of decades after walking off on Ole Miss at the barn yesterday. And JG joins us right now. Well, that was amazing. You got him at the wire, and the barn seemed to be electric. What was that like, and good morning?
Good morning. It was electric. It was electric all weekend. Over 10,000 people each game going back to Friday. They had more yesterday. And, yeah, everybody talks about the barn. And you remember, PA, Cincinnati Gophers 1998, back in the day, what it could be like and what it is like when it's full like that and there's a good game going on. It was magical. It was amazing. And it was loud. I don't know how you feel when you have your headset on. You can't always feel exactly the energy. So I was asking people how loud it actually was, and people were saying it was the loudest they've heard it in years. It was just a crazy environment.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, man. Kenyon Martin, Melvin Levitt, and just the barn being on fire in 98 is with wobble as we went wobbling across the street. The that Amaya battle baseline game winner. That was a hard shot, man. The Ole Miss player in front of her defended it perfectly.
Yeah, I've got a screenshot. I think my uncle, as you can imagine, the texts were kind of flying around yesterday. I think my uncle was watching the game, and he sent a screenshot of her basically letting the shot go on that baseline. And I don't know how she got it off. Now, Amaya's really good, obviously. She's had a great career. She's one that can just elevate over people and kind of get that shot whenever she wants. Team said that once they saw her dribble a couple times, they knew exactly what she was doing, and they figured she would make it because they've seen her do it a million times, especially from the mid-range. But it was great defense. It was great defense. She was right there. Ends up falling down after the shot. I still, from the screenshot, don't know how she got it off. She got it off by, just a hair, just a lick. And fitting to have her kind of do it. She's kind of been the one that has kind of been the heartbeat of the team, I'd say, all season long. She's the one that keeps people loose. She's the one that, kind of gets people organized. She's, as they said yesterday, like every teammate's favorite teammate. And so it's pretty fitting that in her final game, final moment, she does that.
How about Mara Braun's three late to tie it with 1:15 to play?
Huge.
Well, I mean, she had to be tired. I mean, she dribbles right, comes back to the left to get the space, and she hits it. I'm watching that, man, and I'm like, that's sheer tenacity right there. What a player.
Yeah, and she had not shot the ball well for the first 2 months of the season. For those that don't know, she missed basically the last 2 years with different injuries, really the same injury twice. And it took her a while to get going. Her shooting percentages were not very good in November and December. She kind of hit her stride mid-January, and month of February on, she's really shot the ball well. And that's who she was. I mean, this recruiting class that we've talked about for 5 years now, she was the highest rated one. She was kind of the headliner of it. Came in, started as a freshman, led the team in scoring as a freshman, and it just took a while. It took a while for her to get back to where she was a couple of years ago. And so it was a great just finish to the game when you think about Mara doing that from Wayzata, Sophie Hart, putting them ahead to begin with. She's from Farmington. Tori McKinney, Minnetonka having a big run as well on both ends of the floor. And then Amaya Battle from Hopkins finishing it off. It was just, especially the two with Mara and Amaya that came in together. Pretty special stuff.
Well, the Sophie Hart and dumb question number one. Is she a lefty, or did she go to her left to get that basket?
No. Yeah, she can go either side. Oh. Yeah, she's right-handed, but she can go either side. And she's had a great couple of years. She's really improved the last few years. And Dawn's old school. Everybody now is into shooting 1 million threes and analytics, right? We've seen that in every sport.
Yeah.
Dawn kind of starts at old school, where she wants to establish the inside game first. They've got a lot of three-point shooters, but she wants to establish things inside, and they weren't really able to do that a ton yesterday, and even on Friday against Green Bay to a lesser extent. But Sophie's been a huge part of this thing because once she does get it inside, there typically are more things that are opened up for these shooters. So, yeah, she can go both sides. She can go either hand, and that's why she's averaged double figures again for her senior year.
Wow. JG, Justin Gaard, the play-by-play voice for the Gophers women's basketball team, Sweet 16 bound, Sacramento, coming up later in the week. More on that momentarily. Is this the most fun you've ever had professionally? And I ask because it's my experience when working with a team and things are going really well, truly there's nothing more professionally surreal.
Yeah, I say it this way, like it's fun with this group. Number one, I always feel really good for the fans, whether it's Gopher football or this stuff with Gopher basketball. I just feel because they're the ones that invest the money, the time, they watch all the games. And so that's what was really fun is like all these videos that are coming out, like just to look at the reactions of the people behind the players, behind the bench, how much fun people are having. Like we know as Minnesota sports fans, we're a resilient bunch, right? Taking a lot of gut punches over the years. And so to have moments like they had yesterday, I always feel great for the fans first and foremost, because it's just fun to see people having such a blast and making memories, and all the kids that were there yesterday, including mine, and seeing how they do, just how they process everything. That's always the best. And then with this group, PA, I feel good for them because a lot's been written about it and a lot's been said about it. But you think about Mara and Amaya specifically and, coming here, 4 years ago, the program wasn't in a very good spot. They wanted to change it. They hung through a coaching change. They hung through a lot of losing. They hung through a lot of injuries. And so to have that payoff like they did yesterday, that's why it's cool. That to me is why it's fun. And you throw in Sophie Hart. You have Tori McKinney join. Grace Kraholski from Wisconsin, who's had a great career. She'll be back next year. You've got Nehemiah Holloway. You've got, just go down the list, a couple of grad transfers, people that have all bought in when there maybe wasn't a lot of reason to do that. And that's why it's fun to watch that whole process from 4 years ago, essentially, and that patience be rewarded. So yeah, it's been very cool to watch this thing build and grow, and to, you know, be around it as closely as I am. It's been very fun and rewarding.
Time for two more.
JG.
Last one from that game yesterday, which was terrific. Sneaky, massive play in this game was the charge Battle Drew on McMahon.
Yeah.
Now, that's Ole Miss's best player, for those who don't follow it closely. And fouling her out with 4 and change to go, how much did that impact the game?
Changed it all. And that's what I said. I said, when she fouled out, I said, here's your chance. The door's been opened, right? You have an opportunity, because she was a problem. They were having, she's good. She's she's All-American, first team All-SEC.
Yep.
They're familiar with her because she was at Ohio State, you know, the first 3 years of her career, scored 25 on them last year in Columbus, first team All-Conference 2 years in a row. She was killing them. And it was a smart play by Battle, and she even talked about it after the game. She was scoring over me, she was scoring through me, but she is physical. And I thought, if I just get myself in the right spot and I hit back and I take the charge, we'll see what happens. And it changed everything. And that's what I said on the broadcast. You have the window is open, because it was a tough situation. Things were not looking very good with how easily Cody McMahon was making things look, and how she was kind of keeping the Gophers at arm's length. So that was a huge play in the game, and just having her pick up early fouls, you know, to 2 fouls in the first 2.5 minutes. You know, kept her on the bench for a while in the first half. So it was a big part of it. The Gophers had foul trouble of their own with 3 of their starters that they had to kind of navigate, but none was bigger than the Cody McMahon fouls.
All righty. Lastly, Gaardsy's going to be up late tonight. Gaardsy squad gets the winner of Oklahoma State at UCLA this evening. It is a 9:00 tip-tap locally. The Bruins are the 1 seed and 32-1. And the ESPN predictor bit has them a 96.5% winner tonight. I think they've won 26 in a row. What do you think about tonight's contest?
Yeah, I don't think I need to stay up, quite frankly. I think we know how it's going. I think I'll DVR it just to maybe watch it later. But the result, it would be shocking if they don't win. They're national championship good. And I was telling somebody yesterday, in Iowa City, our spot is courtside, and so Jan Jensen, their Iowa coach, and Don Plitzwey were talking before the game. Iowa had just returned from the West Coast trip. Minnesota had played UCLA 2 weeks before, and Jan Jensen, I overheard her telling Don, they're complimenting her on how well they played UCLA. She said, "You guys played UCLA so well." Bruins still won by double digits. Like, that's the team that we're dealing with here. Lauren Betts might be the player of the year. He's got a great guard named Kiki Rice from Washington, D.C., Sidwell Friends School, where all the president's kids used to go. They have everything, and they're a national championship contender. It would take a heck of an effort for the Gophers to pull it off. They will not be favored on Friday night in Sacramento, but pretty cool opportunity to go try it against maybe one of the top 2 teams in the country, them and UConn, who, you know, they did play pretty well when they were here at Williams Arena back in January. So it'll be cool, but UCLA is extremely, extremely good.
Don't want to put you on the spot too much here, Gaardsy, but like anything for the fans, like gophersports.com or any junkets or packages or anything for fans who want to get out to Sacramento?
I do know that Creative Charters, your guy Steve Urban, Steve and Dorothy, they're doing something. They always do for things like this. I know they're doing. I don't know if it's a full charter, but they're handling a lot of different travel bits for it. So if I hear anything else, it'll be on social media. But I do know Creative Charters, per usual, is trying to get some people out there. I know a lot of the parents are taking advantage of that part as well.
Fox.
Appreciate you, brother. Safe travels. Thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, anytime. Say hi to Freddie. Good job not calling the timeout, Freddie. Let your players play. Let your players play. That was unbelievable.
Tell me you didn't think that bandy shot went in. Are you kidding me?
It did. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Did you see Hoiberg's arms fly up after the buzzer?
All right.
It was a great reaction by him.
No, hold on. FIHA, Fairness and Hoiberg Act. I recorded the interview earlier, and there's part of it where you watched the post-game interview, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, he had to turn around and bark at one of his players. He was so wound up. I think you'll like that part coming up here pretty soon. Bye, JG.
I love it. See ya.
See ya. Justin Gard. Houston Amos. Justin Gaardsy the Vox. And congratulations to Coach Don Plitzowitz, Golden Gophers women's basketball team, making it to the Sweet 16 for the first time in a couple of decades. The Nebraska Cornhuskers basketball team is Sweet 16 bound for the first time in the history of the program. And old school, best school, Fred Hoiberg. He's going to chat about that and much more around the corner. It is 9:46, and this is 9 to noon. Now, 9 to noon continues, and Fred Hoiberg is coach of the Sweet 16 bound Nebraska Cornhuskers. Needed a stiff drink for the Vandy sweat, but the Huskers advance to Houston and get the Iowa Hawkeyes Thursday in the Sweet 16, and Coach Hoiberg joins us now. All right, Tyler Tanner's half-court shot to win it. I mean, you were right next to it. Rim rattling, in and out, heartbreak for them. Did you think it was going in?
Right when it left his hand, my heart stopped. You could see it was right on line, and it's amazing that thing rimmed out. It hit exactly where you need to hit it on the square, and it had good arc on it as well. It's not like you threw up a line drive. So yeah, I feel very fortunate to get out of that one. And, I thought we played really well. I thought we had great resiliency in that game. Our guys found a way to battle through adversity. Vanderbilt was unbelievable in the second half with their shot making. We ended up going to a little bit of the zone in the last couple minutes, and that kind of shifted the momentum back our way and made a big play on that last one where Price Stanford, a couple guys ran at him. He hit Braden Frager streaking down the court for the game winner.
Have you ever had an end game feeling, Fred, like that? I mean, with a loud crowd in a massive game, and your heart's falling to your feet as you watch that thing slowly go through the air.
Yeah, it was it was crazy because for anybody that watched the game, I mean, our fans were absolutely phenomenal. They just took over the Oklahoma City arena, and our guys just went out there and fed off that energy. And when that ball was in the air, there was an eerie silence. And then when that thing hit the rim, I'm not sure anybody knew what to do. I mean, I just put my hands on my head. I damn near fainted, and it was kind of just a gasp. And then when it went out, I think everybody started the celebration, but it was a couple seconds after that thing rimmed out, just with how close it was. We had a similar situation when we made a Sweet 16 game at Iowa State where DeAndre Kane went in against North Carolina and he hit a crazy layup. They tried to call a timeout. They went to the replay. They didn't end up giving it to him, and we ended up winning a game without that type of drama. But yeah, it was, that Tanner kid is unbelievable. He's a sub 6 foot guard, but he's an incredible athlete, shot maker. I just thought he was terrific. You watch those guys on film, and they had just beaten Florida by 20 in the SEC tournament. So that's a really good team. It's obviously a great win for our program.
All right, I got one for you. Down memory lane we go. May 2004, Freddie's on the Timberwolves. Game 7 divisional round against Sacramento. Chris Webber had a 25-footer that spun around the rim 3 times and popped out, and you guys advanced to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, I was in the arena at Target Center for that, and it made my hair white. Do you remember that one?
I was standing underneath the rim. I literally, I was like, that's going in. There's no way that thing's not going in. Chris Webber called our game, and we actually talked about that play. And yeah, that's as close, I think, as what happened to us against Vanderbilt the other day, because I literally was I had the best view in the arena. I was standing right underneath the rim, and I still can't believe that ball didn't go in.
First thing I thought of, after I'm like, oh wow, it went in and out. Holy cow! All right, when you were being interviewed by Andy Katz after the game, all right, I mean, you were all business, and one of your players was teasing you with a headband and a towel, and I think you turned and looked at him and were like, stop it. What the heck happened?
You know what he was doing? It was Sam's headband, and he was wringing the sweat onto my head. So it was disgusting. I said, "What the hell are you doing?" And because I was still in shock, I still didn't really know how to process everything with that shot. I was literally shaking, and I didn't. When Andy asked me the first question, I was speechless. I still didn't know what to say at that point. And then I got Berkay Bucagel squeezing Sam's sweat onto my head. So I actually kind of like the Gatorade shower in the locker room because it helped clean that stuff out there.
Yeah, the post game interview. I mean, yeah, I watched it 3 times. I had to keep going back because I've never seen anybody turn around in an interview and basically say, "Hey, stop it," because it was so tense. Everything was so tense at that moment, man. I mean, it was unbelievable. But Fred Hoiberg, coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers basketball team, Sweet 16 bound. They get Iowa this Thursday. More on that momentarily. But seriously, Fred, with that God-given day, you win it at the buzzer, advance to the Sweet 16, and it's your son Sam's 23rd birthday. So I bet you and Carol and the family were giving thanks after that.
Yeah, it's obviously a special one that they'll never forget. Sam and Charlie, identical twins, and it just was such a special moment. And, Charlie, he went to TCU, and he's really been great for Sam specifically, just with everything that he's been able to do to help Sam with his confidence. He shoots with them every day, and, he's been a big addition to our program. So to be able to share that moment, with Charlie, with Sam, and, obviously everything Sam has been through with our program. He was here when we were, this program was at its lowest, and, he's really been instrumental in helping us get us to where we are right now, just with his everyday, what he does on the court, but also more importantly, as we were really building chemistry and, getting the narrative flipped, he was great off the court and getting guys together and, just building camaraderie. And I really believe that's made a difference with everything, not just Sam, but we've had some other, special players in this program that have gotten us to where we are right now. And, listen, it's been a great ride. We're not satisfied. We got a great matchup coming up against a really tough, physical, hard-nosed team. That performance they had against Florida was unbelievably impressive. Excuse me, in that game last night, and we certainly got our hands full on Thursday.
When you guys won Saturday, Fred, you mentioned it earlier, but the Huskers are known for this with football and basketball, but that fan base, man, the majority of the arena was donning red. It was kind of like a home game, wasn't it?
It's as loud of an environment I have ever been in a neutral site atmosphere. They've got the decibel level, reader in the arena, and we set an all-time record, broke it for, I think it was an Oklahoma City Thunder playoff game, and I got chills. I got when I walked out there that first game when we played Troy, when I went out there for the anthem, and just saw the fans and how loud they were right before the anthem played. It was surreal, and I'm telling you this, it was good for the Oklahoma City bar scene. They sold out of beer, I know, at a lot of local establishments. So it was absolutely phenomenal. We're thankful for it. They absolutely played a big part in us winning those 2 games. Hey,
Freddie, you mentioned it earlier, switching to that zone. It changed the whole game. I don't know what you call it. It looked like a hybrid 1-2-2. But when you switch to it late, it played big time into the win. It almost totally stopped Vanderbilt's 3-point game. Was that the goal?
Well, we needed to do something. They had a really good rhythm going, and we had to switch it up just to try to get them a little bit off balance, and it worked. A lot of times it doesn't. They did hit one corner 3 on it, but for the most part, it slowed them down, and it took away the penetration. That's where they were getting the 3 on the spray out and the kick out. So just something to change the momentum of it, and it ended up working.
That had to be as good a defense as you've seen your team play. That 3-pointer you're talking about, the kid who made the pass under the basket, that was a hard pass. Every pass was hard in that zone. Is that something that you guys do frequently, or was it just a change up at that time?
Well, we talk a lot about not only contesting every shot, but contesting every pass. And our guys have done a pretty darn good job of that for the most part. We've done a good job with deflections. That's what really gets our offense going is when we can turn teams over. And he did. Listen, those guards are so dynamic, not just Tanner, but Miles, with those guys being able to get into the paint, and then Nickel with his ability to shoot it. And they're big, shoot the ball as well. So they put you in a lot of stress with their offense and their package. Mark Byington does a great job coaching that team. And again, that team, listen, they started 16-0, and with their only loss going into the tournament was the SEC championship game against Arkansas. So that was a hot team. And we feel very fortunate to still be playing.
And good for the Huskers, man. I mean, first trip to the Sweet 16 in the history of the program. Fred mentioned it earlier. You made it there 12 years ago with Iowa State. After this victory, Fred, in the locker room, did you do that viral sensation dance like you did after beating North Carolina?
I was too cold. They dumped that ice bucket on me. So, yeah, no, I learned my lesson. That wasn't a good scene. And I'm not a very good dancer.
And you were still yelling at the player, "Stop it! I'm trying to talk to Andy." All right, couple of quickies to close here. Fred Hoiberg, 9 to noon. This is awesome. Some of your players. Rink Mass is a stud. We've talked about him before. He beat his guy to a putback and tied it at 72. Then freshman and Lincoln native Braden Frager streaks down the key for a 74-72 lead. That's the eventual final score. How did Rank Mast help you all game?
Yeah, he started out the game hitting shots. He had 3 threes in the first half, and that's what we need out of him, is just be able to stretch the defense and get the big out of the paint. That putback he had, we actually had back-to-back putbacks. Sam had one.
Yep. Where
he streaked in and made it, and then Rank on the next possession tied it, and then the last possession with Price just making an unbelievable read to get Braden. We had numbers. The big question: do you call the timeout or do you let your guys go? And I just thought we had an advantage coming down, and Price made a heck of a read to get Braden that last layup that gave us the lead. So yeah, Rank's been unbelievable for what he went through last year. PA, he had one of the most invasive knee procedures that you can possibly go through. He's as disciplined a player at any level that I've ever coached or really been around, and you have to be. He can't skip steps. It's a full 12-month recovery with what he went through, and I'm just really happy to see him get this opportunity.
Well, the kid who hit the eventual game winner, when you scratch below the surface on that, Braden Frager, 19-year-old freshman, played at Lincoln Southwest High School, 15 minutes south of the University of Nebraska, and he always wanted to be a Husker. I mean, that's all you read, before he even started there, and he looks like a special player, is he?
Yeah, it's really a cool story. He actually came in a year early. He came in as a 17-year-old last year into the program, and he just really wanted to come in and develop. So we redshirted him, and he played in the scout team last year. And there was a time about midway through the year, we almost stripped his red shirt. That's how well he was playing, and ended up going on a little bit of a run. So, just didn't want to burn the full year for him. And just to see what he's been able to do, he plays with so much confidence and a swagger. He went through a little bit of a tough stretch going into the end of the year, but he's got his confidence back, and we need him. He's so important in what we do. We need him to score it. Really athletic. He's the most athletic kid on the team, and it's been great to see. And not just Braden, but you got Sam, who graduated from a high school in Lincoln. You've got Caleb Jacobson, who went to a small school. We've got a couple other guys, Justin Bolus and Henry Burt and Will Cooper, that are Nebraska kids. So, it's been fun. You really, with our 7-man rotation, three of those kids are local products, and that's been fun for our fans.
All right, last one, the what's next plan Thursday. You guys split with the Hawkeyes during Big Ten play. Iowa upset Florida last evening. The 1 seed is out, and that was a really exciting finish. And when I say easier, don't take it completely literally, but is it easier to plan a game with a familiar foe?
Well, we know each other very well. We played them on senior night, our last game of the year. We split, we lost at their place, won at our place, and both very competitive emotional games. So, yeah, as far as the preparation, knowing who each other is, we know their personnel. From that standpoint, yes, we do know each other. As far as is it easier? No, because the way they play and the way that they're coached, they do an unbelievable job. And that's what they did last night. They just controlled tempo, I thought, start to finish, and ended up knocking off the national champs from a year ago.
All right, last one before you start practice for this week for Thursday, travel and everything down to Houston. What are some keys to beating Iowa and getting to the weekend?
Yeah, they're really good with their pressure. We have to take care of the basketball, and just really contest all their shots. Sturtz is one of the top point guards in the country. He's just done a masterful job with his team. Banks was really good last night, and then Fulgaris knocking down shots as well as Koch. So, these guys are, they're a machine right now, and we just got to go out and do a really good job and play 40 full minutes because they're such a disciplined group. They know their roles, and it's a really tough physical team to play against. So taking care of the ball and then finding a way to compete on the glass.
Man, I heard those sirens next to you. That Saturday night win was so big, you even got a police escort to the practice facility, don't you?
I wish, buddy.
All right, man. Hey, God bless you and your family. Best of luck this weekend, and we'll be in touch soon, all right?
Okay, awesome. Thanks, PA.
See you, Fred. That's Fred Hoiberg, coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers basketball team. They beat Vanderbilt in an absolute spine tingler. And just back to the early stages of the interview, those of you who stayed up late Saturday and watched that post-game interview with Fred Hoiberg, former Timberwolf, Chicago Bulls head coach, Iowa State, stuff like that. He's the mayor. He's Iowa State basketball immortality. If you saw that interview, you know what I'm talking about. And I've watched a lot of post-game interviews in my time. I've never seen anything like that during an interview. I mean, these players for Nebraska were just so hyper and wound up after the game. Andy Katz is interviewing Fred Hoiberg, and you got this player who's like squeezing a sweaty sweatband that was on the head of Fred's son, Sam, and the sweat was dripping on him, and Fred just kind of smiled that one off, but then, said player took a towel and then started to try to wrap him around with it. And Andy Katz is asking him a question. Mid-question, Fred turns around, looks at his player, and basically goes, "Stop it! Stop it!" I mean, it was so nerve-wracking and tense. Man, Fred's great. Thank you very much for joining the radio show, my brother. And best of luck to these Huskers against those Hawkeyes this Thursday into the Sweet 16. Into the second hour of today's 9 to noon radio presentation. Here comes Mick Tockett to talk about the world of hockey, including a thrilling, wild victory over the Dallas Stars Saturday at Grand Casino Arena. We got two, but we gave one. And there's much about which to chat with Pat Micheletti coming up next. You're listening to 9 to noon.